So one of the missions of Voice of America is to tell American story, and our audience is mostly in post-Soviet countries, where racism unfortunately does exist. At the same time, people in Russia, for example, they don't believe, they don't understand that the racism still exists in America. They think that the protesters are like fighting for nothing. How could you explain to the people who think like that, that there is that problem in America, and there is something to fight for and to fight against?
Segregation ended, so now the racism has become systemic in the institutions where they don't want to hire us. You know, we go to school, we get good grades, we pass all the tests, but then we can't get a job because they don't want black people working in their company or something like that. Or if they give us a job, then we only can go so high. And then the white people who are under us, they get promoted over us and keep going. And we get stopped right here. So that's a systemic racism. Or I can go into a store and people follow me because they think I'm going to shoplift something. I can get into an elevator and let's say there's a white lady in the elevator and she will hold her purse very tight. She doesn't do that when a white guy gets on the elevator, but in her mind, I might take her purse. I see that. I also see when I go to a store, and this is before Corona, so nobody's even worried about germs, right? I'm in line, and there's a cashier there, a white cashier. The people in front of me are white. They pay whatever they're paying. They put the money in the cashier's hand, right? And she puts the change in their hand. I get there, I hand her the $20 bill or whatever. She puts the change on the counter. She won't put it in my hand. So I'll just stand there and wait until she picks it up and puts it in my hand. So sometimes it's just little subtle things, But it's not every day, everywhere. No, things have gotten better, but it's still here under the surface. Sometimes it's right out front, but a lot of times it's right under the surface. You might not notice it, but I would. If it doesn't affect you, you don't notice. But, I see different things. My wife is white. So sometimes I go places for dinner and people look at us. Other places, it's no big deal because it's normal, wherever that is. But I'll give you an example. Just 5 blocks from here, Connecticut Avenue. My wife and I were going to the movies a couple years ago. And we're going down Connecticut Avenue and the police lights come on. I wasn't speeding, So I pull over, guy comes up, license registration. I say, okay, I'm getting it for him. I say, why are you stopping me? I'll be with you in a moment, sir. Just remain in your vehicle. I sit there, I'm watching him in the mirror. He goes back to his car, he's on his computer, he's on his radio, and he comes back. He says, the reason I've stopped you is because you crossed the yellow line. Look, you crossed the line. I didn't cross any line. He saw my wife in the car, and he's like wondering what's up, all right? So then he says, I said, sir, I did not cross the line. He goes, yes, you did. I was just checking to make sure you hadn't been drinking or anything like that. So then I said, well, I wasn't drinking, and no, I did not cross the line. He said, sir, just stay in your lane. You have a good evening. And then he squats down and he looks in my window over here to where she's sitting. And he says, ma'am, are you okay? He asked her if she's okay. So before she could, she's going to answer him. Before she could answer him, I stop her. I say, yes, my wife is fine. How was your wife this evening? He goes, sir, you have a good evening. Stay in your lane. What's that about?
But do you have an answer? What's that about?
No.
Why it's happening?
Of course I know. Because he wants to know, why is there a white woman in this black man's car? My wife comes from a small town, 2 hours from here in Virginia, the town of Luray, Virginia. And when I first started dating her, I would go down there, once a week if I had a night off. I play music full time almost every night. And if I had a night off, I would drive down there to see her. It's a very small town. Everybody knows everybody, all right? Within 2 weeks, the Luray City Police, they don't know me. They never met me, They seen me, driving in the car, but they went to her house. They never talked to me. They went to her house and they told my wife, well, she was my girlfriend at the time, they told her I was a drug dealer. And she says, well, why would you say that? And they said, because he has a black Cadillac with dark windows. It's a stereotype. Some black guy with a Cadillac or Lincoln with dark windows, he must be a drug dealer. And they don't even know me. And we're talking about now. We're not talking about 1950. So that mentality is still here.
So what brought the country to that boiling point, that particular murder or the wound that already existed?
George Floyd was the straw that broke the camel's back, as we like to say. All right? It wasn't about George Floyd. Yes, he was murdered. We all saw it. The whole world saw it on video camera. All right? Well, his murder was very important, but it's the whole journey. And that was the straw that finally said, enough. Listen, the man, the officer, his name I think was Derek Chauvin, who choked Mr. Floyd to death. This police officer had 18 complaints against him. He's only been on the force 19 years, and he has 18 complaints. That's almost one complaint per year. Nobody listened to any of those 18 people. 18 people said there's a problem with this officer. None of the authorities above him, his supervisors, listened to not one person. Maybe if they had listened to one person, they could have corrected his behavior and maybe there would not be this situation today. But 18 people have complained and nobody listened to any of them. And now half of this country is on fire, literally, is burning down because nobody listened. Now, why do they go around and put these buildings on fire? A lot of people wonder, well, what good does that do? Why do you burn down these buildings? I'm not justifying the destruction of property. I'm not advocating burning down the buildings, but there is a reason. And I'll tell you the reason. If you have 10 white male friends and you ask them this question, what is the first thing that goes through your mind if you're driving home late at night, say you worked a late night shift at your job, or you have a date and it's late night and you're going home and you see those lights in your rearview mirror, you're being pulled over. Maybe you were speeding, maybe not, but whatever, you're being pulled over. What is the first thing that goes through your head? I will guarantee you, all 10 of those white guys are gonna say, I hope I don't get a ticket. I hope I don't get points on my license. I hope my insurance doesn't go up. Now, you ask the same question to 10 black males. What's the first thing that goes through your mind late at night and you see those lights? They're going to tell you, I hope I don't get shot. I hope I don't get beat up. I hope I get to go home. Why are they thinking like that? Because there's a pattern. I'm not saying all cops are bad, by any means. There are plenty of fine police officers who do the right job. But then there are those out there, there have been enough of those out there that cause us to think. I have to think, as a band, as a musician, when I'm driving home late at night and I see the police in my rearview mirror, I'm being pulled over. I have a van with dark windows. You can see it in my driveway right now. What do I have in my van? I have musical equipment. I have keyboards, drums, guitars, whatever, the PA system for my jobs. So why do I have the dark windows? So people cannot see inside and break the window and take the stuff, right? But the police see a dark van go down the street with dark windows and a black driver. Just to find the curious, what's happening? You ask my band, we've been pulled over many times on the way home late at night from a gig. The police pull us over and they say, okay, just stay in the van, we'll be with you in a minute. And they go to their car, they get on the radio, and they call other police. They call the canine, the dog. The dog goes through my van looking for drugs. This is typical procedure. I don't like it. I'm tired of it. It doesn't happen to white people. unless they've done something suspicious. We're just driving down the street.
You know, National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien denied in an interview on CNN that systemic racism exists across the nation's police forces. He said that a few bad apples give the impression of racism among law enforcement officers.
There are more bad apples on the police force than there are good apples. And I'll prove it to you right now. Everybody thinks of the police, they break them down into two categories: good cops and bad cops. No, there are three categories that nobody talks about, all right? Everybody knows what a bad cop does. A good cop will not do those things. The good cop will look the other way. But the good cop will not tell on the bad cop. He may not participate, but he won't tell anybody about it. He'll protect the bad cop. The third category is the minority category, very few. These are the honest cops. The honest cop will not do those things, but the honest cop will tell. He will say, my partner, or I saw Officer so-and-so, taking a bribe or beating somebody using excessive force. The honest cops will do that. But here's the problem. When you do that, you are endangering your own safety, your own life. And who are you endangering it from? The criminals? No. You're endangering it from your fellow police officers, because nobody likes a snitch.
So we see now that the protests are really unprecedented. What do you think they will change, both in the mentality of people and in the system?
What we're seeing today is great, all right? A significant change. White people have always been involved with our civil rights. Even back to Martin Luther King, there were white people who marched with Dr. King in the civil rights protests of 1960s. But today, there are a lot more white people who are seeing what has happened. They have that empathy for what is happening. They're recognizing the wrong, and they are speaking out. They're saying, no, enough is enough. And they are putting themselves on the front line with us. That's the biggest change today. And now the voice is being heard. It may not be heard loud and clear, but now it's finally getting to the ear of the people that need to hear it. The people who before were shutting us down. When it was just majority black voices saying, hey, stop this, they put in earplugs, didn't want to hear it. But now there are people with us who look like them. And so now their ears are opening a little bit. Because, like I said, never before have these arrests and charges happened so quickly. What's the difference? Oh, there are more white people in that march. Something is shifting, something is changing. That's a good thing.